Have you ever been in a conversation where everything suddenly stops? You say something, they reply. You smile awkwardly, and then silence. It feels uncomfortable, right? Like you did something wrong. Like your English isn't good enough. Like you're just not a talkative person. But here's the truth. Conversations don't die because your English is bad. They die because you were never taught how conversations actually work. Hello and welcome to English with Ryan. Chapter 1. Why Conversations Die and How You Fix It. Most English learners focus on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. You study tenses. You memorize words. You try to build perfect sentences. But real conversations? They're not tests. They're not about being perfect. They're about connection. And connection follows a completely different set of rules. Think about this. Have you ever met someone who doesn't speak perfect English, but you still enjoy talking to them? You feel relaxed. The conversation flows. You don't even notice their mistakes. Why? Because they know how to keep the conversation alive. Now think about the opposite. Someone with perfect English, but talking to them feels like an interview. Short answers. No energy. No curiosity. That conversation dies fast. So, what's the difference? It's not language level. It's conversation skill. Here's the biggest mistake most learners make. They treat conversations like a question and answer test. Someone asks you, "Where are you from?" You say, "I'm from Vietnam," and you stop. Conversation over. But great speakers do something different. They don't just answer, they continue. They add. They invite. They understand one simple idea. A conversation is like a game of tennis. If you just catch the ball and hold it, the game ends. You have to hit it back. In this book, you're going to learn exactly how to do that. Not with complicated grammar, not with advanced vocabulary, but with simple, powerful techniques that anyone can use. By the end, you won't be afraid of silence anymore. You won't run out of things to say. And most importantly, you'll start enjoying conversations in English, because once you understand the system, everything changes. Chapter 2. The Golden Rule. Ask, don't just answer. Most people think a good conversation comes from having interesting things to say. That's only half true. What really keeps a conversation alive is your ability to ask. If you pay attention to great communicators, you'll notice something surprising. They don't dominate the conversation. They guide it. And they do that by asking the right questions at the right time. Why does this work so well? Because people love talking about themselves. Their experiences, opinions, stories, these are things they're naturally comfortable sharing. When you ask, you're giving them space. And when they feel comfortable, the conversation flows. Now here's where most English learners struggle. You answer questions and stop. Someone asks, "What do you do?" You say, "I'm a student," and that's it. There's no continuation, no curiosity, no invitation. Instead, you can use a simple structure that transforms your response instantly. Answer, add, ask. Let's see how it works. Question. What do you do? Basic answer. I'm a student. Improved version. I'm a student. I'm currently studying business, and it's pretty interesting. What about you? What do you do? See the difference? You answered. You added a small detail. And then you returned the question. That last part is powerful. It keeps the tennis game going. Another example. Question. Do you like traveling? Instead of, "Yes, I do." Try, "Yes, I do. I especially like visiting places with good food. Last year I went to Thailand and loved it. Have you ever been there?" Now the conversation has direction. It has energy. The key is not to make your answers longer, it's to make them more open. You don't need advanced vocabulary. Also, not all questions are equal. Closed questions, yes, no, can stop a conversation quickly. Open questions. Create space. Instead of, Do you like movies? Try, what kind of movies do you enjoy? Instead of, did you have a good weekend? Try, what did you do over the weekend? These small changes create big results. When you start asking better questions, something interesting happens. You stop worrying about your English. You stop overthinking your sentences. Because now, you're not trying to impress. You're trying to connect. And that's what keeps conversations alive. Chapter 3. The Art of Follow-Up. Never let the topic drop. Asking questions keeps a conversation moving, but asking one question is not enough. What really separates natural speakers from everyone else is what they do after the first answer. This is where most conversations quietly fail. You ask something, they answer, and instead of building on it, you switch topics or go silent. It feels like progress, but it actually breaks the flow. Strong communicators don't jump away from a topic too quickly. They stay with it. They explore it. They dig just a little deeper. This is called follow-up. Follow-up is not about asking random new questions. It's about using what the other person already said and turning it into the next step of the conversation. Imagine this. You ask, "What do you do?" They say, "I work in marketing." A weak reaction would be, "Oh, nice." A strong follow-up would be, "Oh, interesting. What kind of marketing do you do?" Or, "How did you get into that?" Now the conversation grows instead of stopping. There's a simple technique you can use immediately. Echo plus expand. Echo means you repeat a small part of what they said. Expand means you add curiosity to it. Example, they say, "I recently moved to Canada." You say, "Canada? That's cool. What made you decide to move there?" You're not creating a new topic, you're extending the current one. Another example, they say, "I like playing football on weekends." You respond, "Football? Nice. Do you usually play with friends or in a team?" This keeps things natural. It shows you're listening. And that's important because follow-up only works if you truly pay attention. If you're too focused on thinking about your next sentence, you'll miss details. And when you miss details, you lose opportunities to continue. Good conversations are not built on perfect sentences. They are built on attention. There's also another powerful idea. Go one level deeper. If someone shares a fact, ask about the story. If they share an action, ask about the reason. If they share an experience, ask about the feeling. For example, "I went to Japan last year. What was the most memorable part of your trip?" "I started learning English online." "What made you decide to start?" These kinds of follow-ups make conversations more engaging and more human, because instead of just exchanging information, you're exploring meaning. And when people feel that you're genuinely interested, they naturally give you more to work with. That's how conversations stop being short and start becoming alive. Chapter 4. Small Talk Mastery. Many learners underestimate small talk. It feels simple, sometimes even boring. Talking about the weather, daily routines, or what you did last weekend doesn't seem important. But in real life, most conversations begin here. Small talk is not about deep ideas. It's about creating comfort. When people first meet, they are not ready to share personal stories or strong opinions. They need a safe zone, a place where nothing feels risky. That's exactly what small talk provides. If you skip this step and try to go too deep too quickly, the conversation can feel awkward. So instead of avoiding small talk, you need to master it. The good news is, you don't need creativity. There are a few universal topics that work almost everywhere in the world. Daily life, work or study, hobbies, food, travel, weather. These topics are safe because everyone has something to say about them. For example, how has your day been so far? What do you usually do after work? Have you tried any good food recently? These questions are simple, but they open the door. Now here's the key. Small talk is not the goal, it's the starting point. Once the conversation begins, your job is to gently move it forward. Let's say someone says, I usually just stay home and watch movies. You could respond, oh, nice. What kind of movies do you enjoy? And then, what's the best movie you've seen recently? Now, the conversation starts to grow naturally. Another example. It's really hot today. Instead of just agreeing, you can say, yeah, it is. Do you prefer hot weather or cold weather? A simple topic becomes a real interaction. The mistake many learners make is giving short, closed responses during small talk. Good. Okay. Nothing much. These responses stop momentum. Instead, treat every small talk moment as an opportunity to open another door. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be responsive. Also, small talk helps you warm up your brain in English. It reduces pressure. It builds rhythm. After a few minutes, speaking becomes easier and more natural. And something interesting happens. When the conversation starts smoothly, people feel more relaxed. When they feel relaxed, they share more. And when they share more, deeper topics appear naturally without forcing them. That's the real power of small talk. It's not shallow. It's the foundation. Chapter 5. Storytelling. Make people want to listen. At some point in every conversation, there's a moment where you have a choice. You can give a short answer, or you can tell a story. Most learners choose the short answer. Question. What did you do last weekend? Answer. I stayed home. Correct but forgettable. Now compare that with this. I stayed home, but something funny happened. I tried cooking for the first time, and I completely burned the food. The kitchen smelled terrible. Same situation, completely different impact. Stories give your words life. They create images. They create emotion. They give the other person something to react to, ask about, and connect with. You don't need to be a great storyteller. You just need a simple structure. Past detail. Feeling. Start with what happened. Add one or two specific details. Then share how you felt about it. For example, I went to the beach last weekend. It was really crowded, but the sunset was beautiful. I felt so relaxed, just sitting there. Or, I had a really busy day at work. We had a big deadline and everything was stressful. But at the end, I felt proud because we finished on time. Notice how these stories are not long. They are simple. Instead of, the trip was nice, try, the trip was nice. The food was amazing, and I tried a dish I had never eaten before. Small details make your story interesting. Also, don't worry about perfect grammar when telling a story. When people listen, they don't focus on your mistakes. If your message is clear, that's enough. There's also a hidden benefit to storytelling. It creates natural follow-up opportunities. If you say, I burned the food. What were you trying to cook? Do you cook often? Now, the conversation continues without effort. If your answers are too short, people have nothing to work with. But when you give a small story, you're giving them multiple directions to continue. That's how you make conversations easier, not by thinking faster, but by giving more. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You stop giving answers. You start sharing experiences. And that's when people begin to enjoy talking to you. Chapter 6. React like a native. Show emotion and interest. A conversation is not just about what you say. It's about how you respond. Many English learners focus on forming correct sentences, but they forget something more important. Reactions. If your reactions feel flat, even a good conversation can lose energy. Imagine this. Someone tells you, I just got a new job, and you reply, okay. The conversation immediately drops. Now compare it with, really? That's amazing. What kind of job is it? Same situation, completely different feeling. Reactions show that you are engaged, that you are listening, that you care. Without them, conversations feel cold. Native speakers constantly use small expressions to react. These expressions are short, simple, and powerful. For surprise. Really? No way. That's crazy. For interest. That's interesting. Oh, nice. Sounds fun. For agreement. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same. That makes sense. These phrases don't require advanced vocabulary, but they add life to your speech. Another important element is variation. If you always say, "Oh, nice," it becomes repetitive. Try mixing your reactions depending on the situation. If someone shares something exciting, increase your energy. If they share something serious, lower your tone. For example, "I just passed my exam. That's awesome. Congratulations. I had a really stressful week." "Oh, that sounds tough. What happened?" Your reaction should match their emotion. There's also something subtle but powerful, showing curiosity through reaction. Instead of reacting and stopping, combine it with a question. "That's interesting. How did that happen?" Now your reaction becomes a bridge, not an endpoint. Another common mistake is focusing too much on your next sentence. When you do that, your face becomes blank. Your voice becomes flat. Even if your words are correct, your communication feels weak. Try to stay present. Listen fully. React naturally. Even small sounds matter. I see. Oh, these signals show that you are actively listening. In real conversations, people don't wait silently for their turn. They interact continuously. When you start reacting more, something changes. The conversation feels smoother, more dynamic, more human. Because now, you're not just exchanging information, you're sharing emotion. And that's what makes people want to keep talking to you. Chapter 7. Keep it flowing. The ultimate conversation loop. At this point, you already have all the pieces. You know how to ask. You know how to follow up. You know how to use small talk, tell simple stories, and react with emotion. Now the key is learning how to combine everything into one smooth flow. Because real conversations are not separate techniques. They are loops. A natural conversation moves like this. You ask something. They answer. You react. You follow up. You share something. Then you ask again. And the cycle continues. This loop is what keeps conversations alive without forcing them. Let's see how it looks in action. You. What do you usually do on weekends? Them. I usually go hiking. You. Oh, that sounds fun. Where do you usually go? Them. There's a mountain near my city. You. Nice. I've never tried hiking, but I'd like to. Is it difficult for beginners? Notice what's happening. You're not jumping randomly. You're building step by step. Each response connects to the previous one. Another important skill is transitioning between topics. Sometimes a topic naturally ends. That's normal. What matters is how you move forward. You don't need a perfect transition. You just need something simple and natural. By the way, I was going to ask, that reminds me. Speaking of that, these phrases help you shift direction without breaking the flow. For example, that reminds me, do you enjoy traveling? Now you've smoothly entered a new topic. Also, don't be afraid of small pauses. Silence is not always a problem. Sometimes it's just a moment to think. The problem is not silence, it's panic. When you panic, your mind goes blank. When you stay calm, ideas come back. If you really don't know what to say, go back to something safe. Ask about their experience. Ask about their opinion. Ask about something they mentioned earlier. There is always something you can return to. Another mindset shift is important. You are not responsible for carrying the entire conversation alone. It's a shared activity. Your role is not to perform, it's to participate. When you focus on connection instead of perfection, everything becomes easier. You listen better. You respond more naturally. You stop overthinking every word. And that's when conversations start to feel effortless. not because you became perfect, but because you learned how to keep things moving.